From the small village of Aween, from the community of Palo Seco, from the twin island of Trinidad and Tobago, a small library operation was birthed in 1991 at a humble open Bible church. Now, blossoming as a business and ministry network across 40 nations, Anointing Oil Dynamics Limited is a hub of influence of leaders and Christian workers as the name, ministry, and work of Jesus Christ of Nazareth is promoted. Anointing Oil Dynamics brings unique training packages to many, online manuals, a base of Christian films, Hebraic and Christian products from the land of Israel, and assist in the returning of Jews back home. Thank you for selecting this product. Please visit us at www.anointingoildynamics.com or email us at anointingoildynamics@yahoo.com. We trust that the love of God will be shared in your hearts through this presentation as we use the eye gate to motivate.
Hello?
Hello, Michael. It's Wendell.
I'm almost finished and I can have my stuff to you in about an hour.
That won't be necessary.
What are you saying?
It's not personal. It's business.
What are we gonna do now?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Flight 4527 with non-stop service to Newark.
What's going on?
What do you want with me?
I want you to see what's happening to us. I've detected a force. It's infiltrated our members and it's changing us.
A force.
Fear.
My desire is to get things back to the way they were. When Amy and I were in love, when we were happy.
You want to leave?
I don't know what I want.
Every time Amy looks at us, she remembers what happened.
That is why we must find that memory.
It's gone.
Someone must have taken it.
What's the reasonable thing for us to do? Give Amy her freedom.
You have it, don't you?
I have to hold on to this. It's all I have left.
Finding that memory is everything.
What happened to you, Hearts? You're weak!
You're in no condition to win her back.
I did it once, and I can do it again. We have to get that memory. It's the only thing that can change us back to the way we were. Where is your faith?
Faith in God.
What am I supposed to do?
Surrender.
This decision affects our life!
God's greatest work.
Heaven is mine! And I shall ascend above all of creation!
Where are we?
Do not be afraid.
We call this Eden.
God will be with me.
Moses?
I will never let them go!
You will be like God. You surely will not die.
I'm not good in these kinds of situations.
You know Super Look never takes us back. You can tell he's ready.
And what happens is that kingdom will now grow and become a mountain. So the first world empire we looked at was when he had this dream of this image of a man. The first one is actually Nebuchadnezzar himself, which is the image of gold. Following that will be the Medes and Persian Empire, which is silver, representing the two arms, and there's actually two sides. You have the Medes as well as the Persians, which is actually today Iran. And then the Bronze Empire, or the Brass Empire, is the Grecian Empire. And that will take you into the 400 silent years of the church, followed by the Iron, which is two legs, the Roman Empire. And then the future or end-time empire is going to be the one of iron and clay. So we spent quite some time in chapter 2, and we'll be revisiting this back again in future chapters. But in reality, this is what he had dreamt, and this entire block is called the time of the Gentiles. So the Babylonian Empire is gone in history, the Medes and Persian Empire is gone in history, the Grecian Empire is gone in history, the Roman Empire has mostly gone in history, but it still has its influence that is still running, and that is going to unite itself again in the future to become the end-time empire, which will bring in the time when the kingdom of this world, all of these kingdoms, the kingdoms of this world shall become the kingdoms of our God and of His Christ, and we shall rule and reign for 1,000 years. And then we closed off in chapter 3, where there were three Hebrew, yes they are boys, but by this time they were actually parliamentarians or officers in the government. And there was this major worship of an image that was placed in the plain, and they were told to fall down and worship it. And when the entire audience went down, three guys decided that they will not bow down. So they wouldn't bow, and then they wouldn't bend, and then finally we find that they wouldn't burn. And even the men that threw these men decided to be devoured by the fire. The ropes went off, but not even their hair on their head was singed. And there is a repeating at least 13 times in that one chapter, where it seems as if God is shouting and repeating their name as a road march in heaven for standing up for the things of God. So basically, that is what we had covered in our first episode, from more the introduction to chapters 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3. Tonight we want to get into we're going to start off with Daniel chapter.
Nebuchadnezzar, the king unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God hath wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee, tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of mine head in my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew, and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the bowels thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher, and an holy one came down from heaven. And he cried aloud and said thus, Hew down the tree, and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves, and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts and the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation. But thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee.
Then Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, was astonished for 1 hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said,
Belteshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee.
Belteshazzar answered and said,
My lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation thereof to thine enemies. The tree that thou sawest, which grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sight thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of the heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O king, that art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown, and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion to the end of the earth. And whereas the king saw a watcher and an holy one coming down from heaven, and saying, Hew the tree down, and destroy it, yet leave the stump of the roots thereof in the earth, even with the band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts of the field, till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High, which is come upon my lord the king, that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over thee, till thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break off thy sins by righteousness, and thine iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility.
All this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar. At the end of 12 months, he walked in the palace of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said,
Is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom by the might of my power, and for the honor of my majesty?
While the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying,
O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken. The kingdom is departed from thee.
and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will.
The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird's claws.
And at the end of the days I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted up mine eyes unto heaven, and mine understanding returned unto me. And I blessed the Most High, and I praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth. And none can stay his hand, or say unto him, What doest thou? At the same time my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom mine honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counselors and my lords sought unto me, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all whose works are truth, and his ways judgment, and those that walk in pride he is able to abase.
Praise the Lord. Lights. What an experience for somebody to go through. All because of pride. All because of the fact that he refused to allow himself to be used by God. So we're in chapter 4 in your manuals, and we are looking at in terms of the humbling, well, first of all, is the humiliation and restoration of Nebuchadnezzar. This chapter focuses on God's humbling a proud man. It deals with Nebuchadnezzar's punishment and pride. This chapter has a theme in chapter 4 and verse 25. Till thou know that the Most High rule in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he wills. And that is a reminder for us always to remember, not only in the office that you work, in the place that you work, or in church, or even if you want to take on public office at any point in time in your life, you may get a post, but God could take it. Yes. He will give it to whomsoever he wills. Alright? Yeah, sometimes, we feel as if ministry and the things of God can't go on unless we did. And you'll be amazed at how quickly God can replace you. The children of Israel felt that they were the elite and they were the chosen one of God. And God put them aside for a while until blindness come upon them, and now He's using outsiders, the Gentile world. And we are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They are the covenant, they are the chosen one, they are the selected one. And God packed them up. And if God could pack up Israel, He can do the same to us as well. He is the one that rules in the kingdom of men, and He giveth it whomsoever He wills. Alright? And very interesting. So after the records of chapter 1, 2, and 3, the humbling of Gentile power by God, and the bringing of the world in subjection to Himself in light of what God said in chapter 2, can see the climax of Nebuchadnezzar's spiritual journey. Nebuchadnezzar himself would have written this chapter, or Daniel, or even another scribe. Now, it is interesting because the chapter starts off by saying Nebuchadnezzar the king, and then we will see a little lower where it indicates I, Nebuchadnezzar, was addressed. So there seems to be evidence within the chapter that this chapter was actually written by a political leader of the Gentile world. Alright? And you will notice that this is the exact same pattern the New Testament will write, where you'll see I, Paul, or I, Peter, servant of the Lord, I, James, and so you'll see the same record. I, Daniel, a servant of the Lord. Here you see I, Nebuchadnezzar, alright, was at rest. So from within the chapter, there seems to be a direct indication that Nebuchadnezzar is recalling his spiritual experience of God. Alright? So from chapters 4, verses 1, 2, and 3, his writing is similar to the opening of the Pauline epistles, as we see him under conviction, and there is evidence that this king was overwhelmed by what God did for him. Here we see that the same God is able to save any human soul, from the poor and lowly to the high, the haughty, and the mighty. Now, for those of us who just pray that the political leaders can be saved, I want to tell you that this is a good chapter to show that that is possible. Because he is the government, or he is the leader of the political Babylon that controls the entire world. So when you feel you're so high and nobody can reach you, or nobody can talk to you, God will deal with you. Alright? And if Nebuchadnezzar could get saved, anybody in public office could get saved. Are you there with me? Alright? From verses 4 down to verse 9, once again God revealed truth, came to a pagan king, as everything God told Nebuchadnezzar was going to happen in his lifetime took place as the Lord said. So here, again, watch what you're thinking about before you go to sleep. He says here that he was flourishing in his palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid. But he wanted to get afraid because he thought it. Thoughts what? Came upon his bed, and the visions of his head troubled him. So he has this dream. So really, Nebuchadnezzar gets a dream from God about his own life and what is going to happen to his own life. And yet, sometimes people just get a word from God, and not because they get a word from God make you spiritual. It's when you get a word from God and you obey it, then you're spiritual. Alright? Then you're spiritual. So flourishing in my palace was a place of security and prosperity. He was surrounded by wealth and power, but he became afraid of this dream that he had. Once again, there is a pool of wise men that couldn't help in supernatural insight, and a door was once again opened for Daniel. So we find here that he had magicians and astrologers and the Chaldean and the soothsayers, and he come and tell them a dream, and then of course they resort to God's people last. You know, you have some people who do that. They come to church last. They have a problem and they go by this one, and they go up Moruga, and they go on Citrus, and they go across the Carcass, and they go all over the place. And they go in the night by this one, and they visit that one, and when nobody can help them, then they come to find out if Holy Church could help me. So, but at last, he looked for Daniel. Last. Some people like to come to God last. Don't come last, come first. Come last, so you'll save yourself a lot of time and a lot of headache. So it is called the tree dream, and I'm talking about the plant. And again, you will see the concept here that the earth is a flat disc, and there is this tree that grows out of the earth and reaches to the heavens. And you will notice that the height thereof was great, and you will notice that every single creature on the earth actually find their refuge under the tree. Now, if Nebuchadnezzar is a world government, that means every people on the face of the earth is under his rulership, his dictatorship, but also too as well their nourished, their means of living and so on, is all run under the Babylonian system. So you find the tree grew, was strong, the height thereof reached to the heaven, and the side thereof was to the ends of the earth. So you have a one world government system that is there. The leaves are fair, the fruit thereof much. The meat is for all the beasts of the field came and shadow over it, fowls of the air. Everybody came to feed. Everybody came to live under the influence of the Babylonian and Nebuchadnezzar system. Are you there with me? Alright? Very interesting. Now, Nebuchadnezzar could recall the dream, but it shook his mind and his security. That's something God can give some dream could really frighten you. Alright? He saw the greatness of the tree that catered for all that dwell on the earth. So no matter where people live, you are under the rulership of Nebuchadnezzar. A watcher from the Holy One came from heaven. So here you have the activities of angels in the ancient world. And you will actually see that they begin to operate and they begin to influence. So you'll see here you have a watcher and a Holy One. And there's a lot of teaching in the spiritual warfare. In spiritual world talks about watchers, watch of the night, and the Holy Ones and so on. So these are different categories of angelic being that actually move back and forth like a postman between heaven and earth to be able to give direction. So we have categories of these individuals. The king was told that it was directed to him, and more so the thoughts and the intentions of his heart. So when Daniel began to explain all that it is, when you see the tree being cut down and there is brass and iron that wrapped around the body of the tree, so it's chopped off but the root is left, he's then told that it is actually him. You will notice here that there seems to be a transformation. In reality, Nebuchadnezzar went mad. He lost his mind, he lost his heart, and the scripture says here in verse 16 that a man's heart was replaced by a beast's heart. Not Beauty and the Beast, not the beast. And he is driven from man, and he's allowed to roam the earth as an animal. If you didn't believe in werewolf and you see here, I believe in werewolf. For 7 times, which means 7 years. Again, pointing or doing a parallel to the 7-year tribulation period in the future, when the world will seem as if it has gone lost. So this is a matter that is decreed by the watchers, and it is demanded by the words of the Holy One, to the intent that the living will know what? That the Most High rules in the affairs of men, and he can do whatsoever he wills. He could set up one, as well as he can make someone abased. So in verse 19, here we have where Nebuchadnezzar is indicating what is going on. Verse 19, there is evidence that Daniel knew at once what the interpretation meant, but it troubled him greatly, because you'll actually see evidence where Daniel was astonished for an hour. I feel he knew the answer immediately. How you telling the man that? How you telling the man you are about to go mad? When you walk up to your governor and tell him that. You know, some of you get some revelation. It's one thing to get the revelation, the next thing to go and tell them that, listen now, God will burn your cuckoo just now. Alright? Trouble coming in your pathway. So he's astonished. Sometimes as ministers, we are reluctant to reveal things that affect people around us. Remember, Daniel is working for this man. So it's his boss, it is his employer that is here. He must be afraid for your life. In spite of the relationship, he must disclose the weighty judgment. The weighty judgment. From verse 20 to verse 27, he begins to tell him what the tree is and how everybody is being nourished by the tree. And then he says in verse 20, he says, you is the tree. It is thou, O king. You have grown, you get strong, you get great, you reach heaven, your domination reaches the ends of the earth. Alright? And it is saying, listen, if you feel that you reach too high, what could bring you down? The Bible talks about if any man takes his stand, take heed lest he fall. Daniel declares who the tree is and show him the meaning of the stump with iron and brass. That means the tree will not be completely destroyed, it's protected. The kingdom will be taken and then restored to him when he comes back to his senses. In verse 23, we see 7 times probably mentions it or refers to 7 years. It cannot be 7 days or 7 months, because you'll notice his hair grows and his nail grows. Alright? And that means that the evidence definitely point to the fact of it being 7 years for Nebuchadnezzar to actually have hair like feathers. like feathers. Heaven to rule is used in the Old Testament. This is one of the only places it is found as opposed to God who rules. So not only do you see here, but of course heaven and God means the same thing, but it is actually linking the two, indicating that heaven or God rules. Now in verse 27, we see here, and we see evidence in verse 27 that God gives him an if option. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be accepted unto thee, and watch this, and break off thy sin by righteousness, and thy iniquity by showing mercy to the poor. That means there were people under his rule that he was abusing. He was not taking care of the pure poor. He was not helping the individuals that really needed help. So he had a flourishing, prospering, growing, advanced kingdom, and people were still under his heels. And you know, when the poor cry out, what is here? That's why when you give to the poor, the Bible says you lend to the Lord. Alright? So he is given a stern warning, and I think this took a lot of guts from Daniel to tell him to say, you better change your ways. Scripture says, be sure your sin will find you out. Alright? So he is given the instructions to do. Now, it came to pass at the end of 12 months, he walked into the palace of the kingdom. So 12 months later, 1 year later, especially when you're busy and so on, so you could get some powerful word from what you forget, Here what he declares, the king spake and said, is not this great Babylon that I have built for the house of the kingdom? And he started to indicate that he has built with my power and my majesty. So you can actually see a trinity of myself. There is what I build, my power and my majesty. You understand? So you have clear evidence there of pride. And your Bible says pride comes before a fall. Will he fall? While he is yet talking, one of the watchers, one of the holy ones, makes a declaration in the supernatural world because of his rebellion and his pride. And instantly, he gone mad. Instantly, he gone mad. So 1 year later, pride speaks from the heart of the king, and the voice of heaven spake that begins to fulfill, or the fulfillment of the dream. This is Babylon, which I have built. Babylon was actually a very prosperous city, had wide avenues that bisected the entire city. They had crossroads. They had a processional street that was 100 yards long, beautiful, with enamel brick displaying lion, dragons, and oxen. Now, we know what lion is, we know what oxen is, and of course we know also the evidence of dragon in the ancient world. Hear this. Any more members here? Let me tell you this one. Here what the man have, right? The man had a banquet hall that can seat 10,000 people. That's stadium. 10,000 people. So when you go in to feast with the king, brother, depending on where you see them, you may not be able to see it. 10,000 people. It was famous for the hanging gardens, the 7th wonder of the world. And what actually did is that he built this thing like a tower. Put a garden on top there. But it was done on a plain, because the entire Mesopotamia plain is a flat surface. So you could be miles, 20, 30, 40 miles away, and you could see the garden. The most remarkable side of the hanging garden is the water system. Because Nebuchadnezzar had built an irrigation system without pumps that allowed water to flow up to the garden and water the garden. And even with the advanced knowledge and technology we have today, people have not been able to duplicate how he actually did the watering of this garden. So 2 important questions arise from this incident. Could this happen to a man? Well, if it happened to Nebuchadnezzar, it can happen to any individual. And there is a medical terminology or medical research that is done where someone can actually lose their mind and their hand and think that they are beasts. God brought him down, and it will be God who will bring down the Gentile kingdom The counselors took care of it during the period of the time of the king's life. So when he gone mad, you had individuals or other individuals to run the kingdom as deputy while they wait for his madness to pass. Alright? So very, very, very frightening particular situation that is here. Verse 34 to 36, we find that after the 7 years, so the same way Nebuchadnezzar had lost the entire kingdom, is the same way the Gentile world in the future will lose the control over the earth. At the end of the day, Nebuchadnezzar lifted up his eyes unto heaven and his understanding returned. And what did he do this time? He blessed the Most High. And he praised and honored him that lives forever, having dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. Although he might allow human beings to run it on earth, God is still in control. Are you there with me? He's still in control. Alright? So, the kingdom is restored unto him. And in verse 37, we see now when he declares, now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and exalt and honor the who? The King of heaven, all whose works are true, and his ways, judgment, and those that walk in pride, he is able to abase. He is able to abase. So, there is clear evidence that Nebuchadnezzar, if I were to use the Christian word, he got saved. He got saved. Sometimes God will take people to some very, very frightening experience to bring them to the same place that they will recognize that there is a God in heaven. Because of their pride and because of their continual rebellion, God can bring them to the contact place that they recognize. So Nebuchadnezzar walks out of scripture as he gives honor to the King of heaven, being in the office of the King of the earth. This King of kings on earth recognized that there is a King of kings in heaven. If God can save this king, he can save any person that is in public or political office. Are you there with me? I want to just highlight one other issue that is here. In chapter 2, Daniel tells Nebuchadnezzar that you are King of kings on the earth. He's the king over Babylon, the king over the Medes and Persian, the Grecian, the Roman Empire, and the future one. Only one person holds that office, and that's Nebuchadnezzar's King of Kings. Are you there with me? It's not the German on the road that is he coming back. The one person is King of Kings over the entire period of the time of the Gentiles. When this happened to him, Nebuchadnezzar recognized that although he is King of Kings on the earth, there is a King of Kings in heaven. So what he does is that he subjects his life, he subjects his office, he subjects his rulership to the King of Kings in heaven. Are you there with me? That is why when Jesus is coming in Revelation 19, he is coming in the office of King of Kings and Lord of Lords, because a human being on earth that had the office subjected the office on earth to the one in heaven. Are you there with me? That's why it doesn't matter what the Antichrist do or any future world ruler does. The person who had the office and the person who is the head of the entire system already handed over to the King of heaven. Are you there with me? Alright? So when Jesus is coming back, he is coming back with the office that Nebuchadnezzar hands him over in this chapter as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And therefore, that gives God the right, or Jesus the right, to destroy the entire time of the Gentiles of Babylon, Medes and Persian, Greece, and Roman Empire, because the head of the thing given the right. You all follow me? Alright? So very, very interesting in terms of what's going on. And I really hope that nobody ever has to experience something like this in order for you to be able to come to the knowledge of God. Alright? Because it means, therefore, that takes a lot to be. Listen, it is better we humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, and he will exalt us in due time. So he's able to pay the person that is abased, he's exalted. If you feel you're exalted, please bring it up. There's one portion of scripture that says, whosoever fall upon me shall be broken. Whosoever I fall upon, but grind it to powder. I rather fall and be broken than he fall on me and grind it to powder. Alright? Chapter 5. We go now into another king by the name of Belshazzar. Lights off.
Chapter 5. Belshazzar the king made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives and his concubines might drink therein. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives and his concubines drank it. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone. In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaister of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. Then the king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon,
Whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom.
Then came in all the king's wise men, but they could not read the writing, nor make known to the king the interpretation thereof. Then was King Belshazzar greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished. Now the queen, by reason of the word, came into the banquet house, and the queen spake and said,
O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed. There is a man in thy kingdom, in whom is the spirit of the holy gods, and in the days of thy father light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, was found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar thy father, the king, I say thy father, made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers. Forasmuch as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams, and showing of hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts, were found in the same Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation.
Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel,
Art thou that Daniel, which art of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king, my father, brought out of Jewry? I have even heard of thee, that the spirit of the gods is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. And now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But they could not show the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of thee, that thou canst make interpretations and dissolve doubts. Now, if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet, and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shalt be the third ruler in the kingdom.
Then Daniel answered and said before the king,
Let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing unto the king, and make known to him the interpretation. O thou king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom, and majesty and glory and honor. And for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, and languages trembled and feared before him. Whom he would, he slew, and whom he would, he kept alive, and whom he would, he set up, and whom he would, he put down. But when his heart was lifted up, and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till he knew that the Most High God ruled in the kingdom of men, and that he appointeth over it whomsoever he will. And thou, his son, O Belshazzar, hast not humbled thine heart, though thou knewest all this, but hast lifted up thyself against the Lord of heaven, and they have brought the vessels of his house before thee. And thou and thy lords, thy wives and thy concubines, have drunk wine in them. And thou hast praised the gods of silver and gold, of brass, iron, wood, and stone, which see not, nor hear, nor know. And the God in whose hand thy breath is, and whose are all thy ways, hast thou not glorified. Then was the part of the hand sent from him, and this writing was written. And this is the writing that was written. Mene, mene, tekel, upharsin. This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting. Peres, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. In that night was Belshazzar the king of the Chaldeans slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
Chapter 5 in the book of Daniel, chapter 5. In this chapter, a number of incidents occurred. One, Nebuchadnezzar had died in the year 562 BC. While Daniel doesn't mention the immediate successors, history shows that there were some other rulers with conspiracies resulting in very short control of the throne until Belshazzar. The chapter will move us from the period of gold to silver, where Babylon is no longer to be is now going to be taken over by the Persians, as we have seen predicted in chapter 2. It is now about 70 years since the incident of Daniel chapter 1. That's when they first came as captives to Babylon. Babylon will fall to the Persians in the year 539 BC. This chapter focuses on a king that is doomed. In verse 1, we see the great feast, and there is much amusement. Belshazzar was entertaining 1,000 of his lord. Archaeologists discovered a large banquet hall with the seating capability of 10,000 persons at a time. I just mentioned that in the chapter before. The air is filled with perfume and entertainment, with wives, concubines, jewelry, dancing, music, as the fact of all time was similar to our time. So if you feel partying and fetting, no stop. It is a characteristics of the time of the Gentiles. It was during these sleeping moments, so while he was sleeping, the enemy was moving, that Babylon fell. Destruction was imminent, as one of the signs of the time of the Gentiles is fete and party whenever any opportunity happens. From verses 2 to 4, we see the result of the fall. When wine touched his lips, the king requested the holy things of God to be used for his self-centered celebration. Now, these vessels came from Solomon's temple that the priests and them will have used from the time of David and Solomon and so on like that. When Nebuchadnezzar conquered and destroyed Jerusalem and the temple, he brought the vessels in, including things like the Ark of the Covenant and the menorah and the Jewish lamp and so on like that, and all of the vessels. Alright? So you will notice here, he wants to defile holy vessels. He wants to defile the things that are separated unto God. These vessels from the temple were taken since Nebuchadnezzar captured Jerusalem until these events. During the time of the Gentiles, nothing is holy. It could be the day of the Lord, the house of the Lord, no sacred attachment to anything concerning the Lord. And we actually see this even happening today too as well. Where the things that are set aside for God, people feel that they could use it for every and anything. And that's exactly what we see happening here. So we have the great feast. Now we have the great folly. When he began to drink wine in these vessels, he went even further to now praise the God of gold, the God of silver, the God of brass, the God of iron, the God of wood, and the God of stone. Again, we find here that he is worshipping created things. Worshipping created things. So the great folly. When the praises were offered to the gods of gold, silver, brass, iron, and stone, these 6 materials demonstrate the confidence this king had in material things as opposed to God. Now, last session when we were looking at when we were to worship at the image, there were 6 types of music. Now we see in this fact there are 6 emblems of material. So it is where somebody sees materialism greater than the things of God. I have gold, I have silver, I have brass, I have iron gate, I have burglar proof, I have soft chair, I have AC, I have plenty. I have tile inside, tile outside, tile all around side. And you feel you have it. Alright? So he worshipped even that of stone too as well. So he is in opposition to the things that he worshipped in God. Then you have great fear. The same hour went forth as finger as of a man's hand. Now in all of Bible, this actually occurs 3 times. The first time that God writes with his finger is on Mount Sinai, when he writes on the stone the 10 Commandments. Moses brought out 2 million people. They want quail, they want water, they want this, they want that, they want cucumbers, they want onion, they want garlic. They give Moses a headache. Moses gone to God, and God gave him 2 tablets with 10 prescriptions. Written in his own hands. This is the second place where God writes with his hand. And the third time is when a woman is brought to Jesus, where they catch the woman in the very act of adultery. I find that real strange. Why you can catch a woman in the very act of adultery, you catch one person? One of them fellas, they must have. I sure about that. Had to be one of them. And what Jesus does, he stooped down and he begins to write on the ground with his hand. So it's recorded at 3 places. Alright? So great fear came upon him, and the scene turned. I like this part, man. All the time you drinking wine, a real party here, the man sat against so frightened. Now watch out. One knee smote the other one. That means the 2 knees started to knock. He is so afraid of what, I mean, at the end of the day, you see a hand appear on a wall in the middle of your party. I mean, this is a Facebook where you're writing on somebody's wall. This is God writing on your wall. He became, listen, all the man joints in the loins. I sure he pee himself. Because all the loins gets back. He was here tired of the all the knees start to shake. And you know when they get fearful, look at that. All kind of thing. Alright. Attention was now focused on the hand that appeared on the wall writing a message. Now, people who do the research says that right in front of this was the Jewish candlestick, which is the 7 lampstands. And because he had it in the banquet hall as part of the defilement, from within or right behind the candlestick where the hand appeared, because the 7 candlesticks is also a symbol of the Holy Spirit, a symbol of God, because God is light. So it seems that right where the candlestick is, God just reached out and starts to write on the wall. Alright? Gets to write on the wall. So great fear. Fear caused the king countenance to change, but we see knee change, the waist change, obviously face will change. His courage left him. His knees began to knock one another. He had no strength to stand. No strength to stand. The king cried out aloud, calling for his team of men like his fathers. Once again, there is an opportunity for promotion, but the team of wise men are beyond able to offer any kind of help. Alright? So he called here forth for the wise men, and none of them is able to actually offer any help that is there. Thank God for women. In the middle of a party, all them fellas head back, and now they're frightened and fearful. The queen begins to talk. Look like she didn't drink much. So she could talk. As well as sometimes when she drink much, that's why she could be talking. And we have some women leaders, they just take it. Alright? So there's a competition here with the gods. Competition. Religious pluralism, the idea that conveys religion should be tolerated, had become widely accepted in many countries today. But the history of the world reflects the fact that religions do compete for people's allegiance. In a sense, the gods of various cultures can be said to have a battle between each other for supremacy. So you have that example taking place in this particular case as well. And she began to indicate, she began to tell him, listen, there is somebody that you can go to. Your father used to rely on this man called Daniel. And they called Daniel in because he's able to interpret dreams, show hard sentences, and also dissolving doubts and so on like that. So they called Daniel. Now when he come in verses 13 thereabout, then Daniel was brought before the king, and the king spake. Now watch how he is degrading him. He says, art thou that Daniel, which are of the children of the captains of the Jews? Now this is a government officer. That government officer that was promoted in the reign of Nebuchadnezzar. And his son is now pulling him back down. That listen, he's a slave. You ain't no rank inside of here. But anyway, we hear you're the seating. So we went to come and tell us, where you see? The commotion is drawn to the attention of the queen, who is now the instrument that directly came to Daniel. In verses 11 and 12, we find here that they indicate what is taking place, and people are watching, believers are looking, and everybody is wondering what to do and what to indicate what's going on. From verse 13 to 16, Daniel was not in the feast. So they had to bring him in. He was not part of the 10,000 that was there. He was separated from their fetting, but worked daily with these guys. There must be a separation between God's people and the people in the world. So you could be working for them. You could be in the office there with them, where you don't have to be part of every time they pass the bottle and the glass around. Are you there with me? This king was not close to Daniel. He had only heard about him. The king admitted that his team of wise men were powerless and he needed Daniel's help. He said, listen, you come from the slaves, we hear that the Spirit of God is here, you have understanding, you're excellent in wisdom and so on and that is it. But them fellas around me, they can't help me. They cannot help me in terms of what we are able to do. And from verse 17 to verse 28, he goes into declaring, and he goes back and he takes him back into the history. He tells him, he said, listen, you should remember your father. Your father, one man, they sell him for 70 years, eat grass like an animal. And because of pride, right? He says, listen, he had a kingdom where everybody was under him. If his father decided somebody should live, or somebody should not, he will pull along wherever he wants, set up whosoever he wants. And his heart was lifted up in pride, and then he was restored. And then he said, you now don't want to humble your own heart. So Daniel did not desire the gifts. When he said, I'll give you a gold, I'll give you a... He said, listen, keep your gift. Keep your gift. The other day, still give him the gifts too. Alright? Give him the gift. Daniel took him on a history trip before telling him what the interpretation is. He took him on a history trip because he's supposed to know the history of his people and of his political reign that is there. Take him on a history trip of what happened in chapter 2 and chapter 4. He pointed out the error of pride, the competition of the God, and the desecrating of the temple vessels. Babylon fell that night, and the gold lost its strength, and now you had silver coming into power. Or Babylon lost its power, and you now have the Medes and the Persians coming into being. So he says, listen, your kingdom is weighed in the balance, your kingdom is finished. You're weighed in the balance, your kingdom is divided between the Medes and the Persians. And let me tell you how they actually win this battle. While this party, now if you invite 10,000 people to a fete, this will happen in one evening. This party will most likely run for weeks. While they were fetting, the Medes and the Persians came outside the wall, blocked the river Euphrates, which was one of the rivers that is almost impossible to pass. Alright? They blocked the river Euphrates, which is one of the rivers that flowed from the Garden of Eden. And when they block the river Euphrates and the water dropped, they can now go under the wall, the same area where the water is coming into the city. They came on the riverbed, came into Babylon, came into the house of Belshazzar, and when he's sleeping in the bed, they kill him. The whole change, or the whole battle, resulted in just they walking and kill one man. And that was it. They take out the king. And when they take out the king, kingdom over. Alright? So they commanded Belshazzar in verse 29, he clothed Daniel with scarlet, put a gold chain about his neck, and proclaimed him to be the third ruler. In that night was Belshazzar the king of the Chaldean slain. And Jairus the Mede took the kingdom, being 62 years old. So the simple went in, and he didn't even take any heed to Daniel's instruction. Listen, your kingdom is weighed in the balance. You need to repent. He went to sleep, man. He went to sleep. And he got killed in his own bed. Valid points. The picture of God dealing with the wicked and the downfall of the unbelieving world we find in this chapter. The system fosters human pride, but does little to provide human security. The disaster of the world does not overtake the child of God. Daniel survived the enemy and emerged, triumphant and as one of the presidents in the new Persian kingdom. So here what? They knock out the king. The political kingdom of the Babylonians end, and a new party comes to power. And Daniel is ready now to serve. Because he's serving God. He ain't serving any particular group. He's serving God. Amen? Chapter 6. We now going to move into a very, very famous one with regards to, if you ever been to Sunday school or kindergarten, you're bound to know about Daniel chapter 6. So let's say the lights down, we're going to go into this one, and right after we're going to just go into a quick video clip on Daniel chapter 6.
Chapter 6. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. And over these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first, that the princes might give account unto them, and the king should have no doubt. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. Then the presidents and princes sought to find occasion against Daniel concerning the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault. For as much as he was faithful, neither was there any error or fault found in him. Then said these men,
We shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God.
Then these presidents and princes assembled together to the king, and said thus unto him,
King Darius live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom, the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. Now, O king, establish the decree and sign the writing that it be not changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not.
Therefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day, and prayed, and gave thanks before his God, as he did aforetime. Then these men assembled and found Daniel praying and making supplication before his God. Then they came near and spake before the king concerning the king's decree.
Hast thou not signed a decree that every man that shall ask a petition of any god or man within 30 days, save of thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions?
The king answered and said,
The thing is true according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which altereth not.
Then answered they and said before the king,
That Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, regardeth not thee, O king, nor the decree that thou hast signed, but maketh his petition 3 times a day.
Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased with himself, and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to deliver him. Then these men assembled unto the king, and said unto the king,
Know, O king, that the law of the Medes and Persians is that no which the king establishes may be changed.
Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spake and said unto Daniel,
Thy God whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee.
And a stone was brought and laid upon the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet and with the signet of his lord, that the purpose might not be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went to his palace and passed the night fasting. Neither were instruments of music brought before him, and his sleep went from him. Then the king arose very early in the morning, and went in haste unto the den of lions. And when he came to the den, he cried with a lamentable voice unto Daniel. And the king spake and said to Daniel,
O Daniel, servant of the living God, is thy God whom thou servest continually able to deliver thee from the lions?
And said Daniel unto the king,
O king, live forever. My God hath sent his angel, and hath shut the lions' mouths, that they have not hurt me. For as much as before him innocency was found in me, and also before thee, O king, have I done no hurt.
Then was the king exceeding glad for him, and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. And Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no manner of hurt was found upon him, because he believed in his God. And the king commanded, and they brought those men which had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lions had the mastery of them, and brake all their bones in pieces, wherever they came at the bottom of the den. Then King Darius wrote unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, Peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree, that in every dominion of my kingdom, men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and steadfast forever. And his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who hath delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So is Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius, and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian.
God wants you to tell him what is truly on your heart, Joy. He loves you and wants you to be honest with him always, even in times of trouble.
Joy, it's them! I am going to guess that is not what they were praying for.
Daniel, I hereby arrest you under the highest authority.
You may arrest me, but it is not by the highest authority.
You're coming with us.
According to your unfailing love.
Sire, are you unwell?
I haven't slept. Please God, I'm not too late.
Sire, shall I call the physician?
I've wronged my friend!
Open it. God is with you. Your God is real. Your God has saved you. Yes.
Just to give you the human side of what he also had to face with regards to the famous story of Daniel in the lion's den. Well, chapter 6, this chapter stands out as a monument of the keeping power of God. Prophecy has been fulfilled as the arm of silver now replaces the head of gold. It is the time of the Medes and the Persians. One of the hardest challenges for employers and business owners today is to find trustworthy employees, especially managers. With millions of dollars of investment at risk, companies search high and low for people that they can depend on to protect their interests. Things were not different in Daniel's day. When Cyrus the Mede conquered Babylon, he needed experienced, trustworthy people to manage the province for him. He was looking for leaders who could maintain civil order, collect taxes, and stimulate trade and commerce. So he elected 120 providential government known as Satraps, which mean protectors of the kingdom. Over these he placed 3 governors, including Daniel. So you had 120 officers. And then on top of the 120, you had 3 presidents. And of the 3 presidents, Daniel was preferred as the best, or as the top out of the 3. Why Daniel? Because in chapter 6 and verse 3 it says, because an excellent spirit was in him. That is, he was trustworthy. His reputation was above reproach. He was known to be above bribery, extortion, which were common amongst officials of that day, and I want to say common amongst any official in many days, many societies. In placing him in a senior position, Darius was confident that he would suffer no loss. Actually, you'll see that in verse 2. The king would have no what? Damages. He would have no loss. Nobody would thief my money. Indeed, Daniel's ethical character do distinguish him from other officials that Darius intended to place over the whole realm. From verse 4 to 5. Can a man live in this world without error or fault? The answer is yes. My question back to is, what about you? Can we also live in a world? Integrity can incite jealousy. His life was above corruption and can create problems for people who like corruption, especially when he's one of the top boss. So you'll notice here in verse 4 that when the presidents on occasion considered the kingdom, but they could find none occasion nor fault. So let me tell you, they bring in auditors, they bring in financial advisors to check the record to see where he passing money underneath, see where he doing things behind, and they can't find nothing in the record. Neither was there any error or fault found in him. The man maintained a clean slate. In public office, clean slate. Success and prosperity can breed condemnation to others who are living ungodly. Like Jesus as he faced Calvary, Daniel has a reputation for loving God and praying. So we can't find a fault. Here's what they decide to do. You go make one. Make one. So when they begin to examine, they realize he's the Spirit of God, so they decide, now here what? We're going to feed upon the king's pride and make him feel like he's gone for 30 days. You may say, I mean, as a believer, we could more than go and pray, fast for 30 days, and after 30 days we continue to pray. Not Daniel. Daniel knew that the success in public office required that he prayed 3 times a day. So when the law was passed, you will see that they indicate to the king here, listen, if anybody asks any petition of any god and so on like that, it will be for 30 days. Focus was now set to bring constitutional reform and to pass a law in the Persian parliament that at any given time, these guys played on Darius' pride to decree that Darius will be a for a month. You know, in some working environment, you get KFC or Subway and so like that, you just put up your picture for customers to see my employee of the month. They decided, sir, we're going to make the king God for the month. That's really what it is. And when they bought the decree, there is no record where the king going to examine it. He had called no public meeting or public consultation or anything like that. I will be God for the month, bam, sign it. One time, he signed the particular decree. Alright? If a law like this were to be passed in our lifetime, would it matter? After all, most of us go for days, weeks, and even months without praying. Not here, right? Not Daniel. Sometimes because of duty, because of the particular things that you need to do, it is a whole different game ball that is here. Daniel had a decision to make. Either you hide and pray, or you make a bold statement. Now, he's a public figure. We're a public figure on one hand. He's in a public office, he's in a parliament, and he's functioning there. Now he's on the next political party, and he's still functioning. He's known. Look at Daniel's prayer life. Daniel had a place to pray. He adopted what was recorded in Solomon, that he will open his windows towards Jerusalem and he will pray. And Solomon had said that no matter where the Jewish people go, if they pray and they will call upon the name of God, God will answer them from Jerusalem. Daniel had a posture in prayer. It was on his knees. It symbolizes a man of humility and a heart dependent upon God. Now, this is the big president. There are 120 top rankers. He's the top of the tree. And Daniel takes 3 times a day to drop on his knees. One famous author said it this way: a man who can kneel before God can stand before anybody. We make our stand on our knees. That's how we make our stand. So there's a place of prayer, there's a posture of prayer, there's a period of prayer. Anybody want to outline for your next time you're teaching prayer? Get right here. 3 times a day, according to Psalms 55 and verse 17. Evening and morning and noon will I pray. And do what? Cry aloud. Man, I pray quiet, you know. Crying out aloud. Like when a bishop and sister Bino, they put them to pray about the cake from quite in the back. Cry aloud. Pray. Somebody passed it with AC, they still hear them pray. Cry aloud. Then you get a purpose in prayer. So Daniel prayed, and his purpose was to give thanks to him. He giving thanks. The law passed, giving thanks. The conspiracy was set as it made their check to catch Daniel in the act. They reported Daniel, but they also used the title of the captive of the Jews to indicate what he was doing. So they come back to the king, and they say, and you make a decree that nobody is to pray because we're supposed to make you the king or the God for the month. And then they come and they say, that Daniel, which is of the children of the captive, going back again, the slave you bring, the outsider you bring, the people that you bring from Domso. Watch what they're doing. Alright? And it's only when they indicated to the king that Daniel was continuing prayer, the king actually was very displeased with this. Now, I find this to be quite interesting because this is a heathen, outside, unsaved king. And yet, we find that this king he had a relationship with Daniel. Unlike Nebuchadnezzar, in the scene of the Pharaoh's furnace, who got more mad, Darius looked or took another means he called Ramesh Lawrence Marad to find a legitimate legal pothole or a loop. There must have a loop in the law where we could have a parliamentarian get out. He searched all the legal means that it could be. I mean, if he could have even get contact with Jack Warner to find out how he does get away, he will have contact him to find to get Daniel out. He searched until the sun was going down. That means the king worked whole day beating the law books to get Daniel out. Alright? So Jairus wanted to find a legal loophole to free Daniel. He knew, listen now, that fellas, they call him in the kitchen. He knew that. Sometimes when you have a good relationship with your boss, other people don't like it. I hope when you have a good relationship with pastor, the people around you like it. Eh? Alright. Seeking legal advice, he committed Daniel to his God and into the death. You have an unsaved man telling the believer, your God will deliver you. Thy favor. Thy favor. You know, sometimes your ungodly boss will say, we know your God will deliver you. So he searched, and then he says, thy God whom thou servest continually is able to deliver you. So in verse 16, verse 17, verse 18 hereabout, it is misery in the palace as this pagan king went into prayer and fast for his co-worker or employee Daniel, whom there is evidence that he loved. Now, you have no other record that anybody prayed for Daniel. You have no Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you have no any friends, all the other presidents must be jealous him, all the other people who you're working with. So you have some people who's working with you. When you're in trouble, they want to help you, they're trying to get you out. Because they're watching your office. Okay, they could move you out, we could move up. Alright? You know what happened? The king goes into a night of prayer and fast. He don't know God, but he prayed for Daniel. What a thing. What a thing. He worked whole day in the legal profession to try to get him out. He can't get him. I'm sure he can. When the night comes, he go into prayer and fast to be able to find a way to get Daniel out. Jairus faced the den in his mind, being confronted by the lion of his conscience. So while Daniel was fighting or had to deal with the lion that he literally faced, the king had a next lion to deal with. His own conscience of being able to, that he was caught in his own government catch-up and he can't get out. It is now the miracle in the den. As Jairus rushed to the den, he responded that my God sent his angels and shut the lion out. So early next morning, the man prayed whole night. So he walked all day, prayed whole night, and next morning he running going to see what going on. Jailer opened yet, he flied on me. Then the king arose what? Very early in the morning, not just early, but what? Very early. And went in haste unto the den of the lion. And when he returned, he said a call, Daniel, your God help you, boy. Oh, I hope you're living still. God is able to shut what is about to devour you, and He's able to bring you out of any den. Sometimes you have some people that you're walking around, and you only growling, and you only want to grab and bite. And you need to say, God could send an angel, and all they could do is watch them go, Some of us need some lions around our lives to go, They want to do things, but they cannot go, God shut the lion's mouth. That is there. Alright, and delivered him from it. From verse 24. So here you have the discussion. He says, there is no hurt. God sent, and they bring him out in haste. He had found grace was a supernatural miracle that takes place. And then the enemies of Daniel are thrown, and the entire families. That part for me is a bit sad. Because let me tell you something. There are sometimes guys working in office, so guys working on the job, and you don't realize that the things that you do on your job can affect your entire family. They lost their job, they're going to get locked up. And the entire, so not only do they throw the men but their children and their wives, they take all of them. And them lion was hungry all night. So anything flying inside of there, man, they beat, they eat, they tear, they mash up down to the bone of individuals too as well, in terms of what's taking place. So entire families got destroyed because of this. Sometimes we have to remember that on the job we need to behave ourselves and live and operate as we need to, because it's not only your pride that is outside here and your life that is outside here, but it's everybody that's connected to you. And these guys forget that. It was constitutional reform again in the Persian parliament, as the law was passed to declare that the God of Daniel is the one true God. The one true God. So here we have the king is actually saying, I make a decree that in every dominion and in my kingdom men tremble and fear the God of Daniel. So I don't only want you to respect Daniel because he's the president. You must also respect his God too as well. In the case here how he has dominion, he uses signs and wonders and so on like that is there. So this king actually got a supernatural insight. But the man prayed and fasted all night. And he saw the signs and wonders of how God is able to deliver Daniel. And you have a testimony here of where he is showing evidence of a change. He gets saved. That night he gets saved. He says he's able to deliver and rescue. He works signs and wonders, and who is able to deliver. And so Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius right until the reign of Cyrus of Persia as well. Daniel prospered under two kings during the political reign of the Medes and the Persian. If I'm correct, Darius is the Mede and Cyrus is going to be the Persian. Alright? You know, it's a coalition government. Like how when we had recently, in the last government, we had the UNC and you had Cork. Well, Cork was the smaller one, so Darius is from Cork. And now you have Cyrus is from the bigger part. These are the Persians. Alright? And put which one you want in office, man. Daniel is willing to work, willing to obey God, willing to do things in public life for the people without corruption, and live the entire life that is there. Alright? So, this brings us to chapter 6. We are basically in the center of the book of Daniel. Next week we are going to be going into 3 heavy chapters. Chapter 7, chapter 8, and chapter 9. As we get more understanding in terms of the times of the Gentiles. The time of the Gentiles. If God is able to deliver Daniel from the den of lions, God is able to deliver you too as well. I don't know what you're facing or what you may be going through, but God is able to deliver you in the midst. Sometimes in the office there are political stories that are going on, but wherever God has placed you to function, be it in the schools, in a group, do it wholeheartedly, so that when people were to examine, they must find no fault. When you hand your office over to somebody, they must find no fault. You're doing it with a pure heart and an open heart. That is it. Bow your heads in prayer as we close off tonight's session. Then I'll hand back over to Sister Bino. Father, we thank you that you're the same God that is the God of yesterday, today, and forever. You change it not. We thank you, Lord, that it is not by might nor by power but by your Spirit. And if you are the God that is able to deliver Daniel, you are greater even today than you was in the days of Daniel. And the same way you give him favor in the eyes of ungodly employers, in the same way also we pray that you will give us favor and give us wisdom in the eyes and in the places of employment. Touch your people even this evening. And we thank you once again for the beauty of your word that continue to guide and guide our lives. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen. Next week we're going to part 3, where we'll deal with chapter 7, 8, and 9 of the book of Daniel. Sister Bino.
clothes to keep us warm.
Thank you for this beautiful place for us to